Okay, hello everybody, I'm Ren, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a scar texture. This is going to be a tutorial for the face, but really it will work with anything, just as long as you have the textures for it. So what we're going to start with is our diffuse map, which is just the flat color map, so you could start with either your skin or your face. I'm currently in Gimp right now. You can use Photoshop, Procreate, Photopea, whatever you have, just as long as you can draw on it. And as long as you can mix layers with blending. So like MS Paint, probably not going to fly. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a new layer, just a regular old layer. I'm going to do this kind of quickly just to show you an example of what I'm going to be just the process without going into any specifics. So I'm actually just going to borrow this scar right here from the default Viera face, and drag it over to the nose, because I think that would be cute. Let's make sure we copy that from the correct layer. Paste. I'm going to transform it just by flipping it horizontally. Oh, that was the whole canvas. Have not. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Gonna drag it over here. Stick it on the nose. And note that I am using higher resolution textures. You can see this is 1024 by 2048. You can also use asymmetrical textures if you want to. I would definitely recommend using higher res textures though, just because you'll get a crisper, cleaner result that way, especially for the normal map. So if you don't have any upscaled normal maps, then there is also dev kits that you can find, especially on XMA. You can just search for blank race dev kit. I know Major Praline has one for Viera and then also Mikote female. But really, you can also upscale them yourself or just Google upscaled faces Final Fantasy. And I'm sure you'll find something. But it's really crucial that you do have an upscaled normal map in particular, because that will give us that three-dimensional effect that we're looking for with the scar. In addition, it's also nice to have a upscaled multi-map, which will affect how much our skin tone affects the scar area. So, for example, if it's a more like melanated character, then there's usually less melanin in the scar area, especially if it's an older scar, so you will want to have it a little washed out and faded, so we'll get to that in a second, though. Currently, we're just going to add our little face scar. I'm going to clean up this area a bit by deleting the extra. Delete. That looks about right. Doesn't seem to have any extra crap in it. But from here, yeah, you'll notice that it's a bit darker up here and then also less orange, or I can't remember which one exactly is the... You know what, we're going to check. TexTools reference, our bestie. So this is the TexTools reference information sheet. You could probably copy-paste this URL or look for it in a in the TexTools Discord channel or other modding tools Discord channels. But what we're looking at here is the shader references, which explains how each color/data channel is used in each shader. So specifically, we're looking for the skin face shader. And right here, you can see multi-map. Red is player skin color selection influence. Green is specular intensity, or how reflective it is. And blue is player lip color selection influence. So what you can see right here is I've just gotten rid of all the blue, so there is no lip color just to go with this particular lipstick look. But the more red something is, the more it's going to be affected by skin color. So for example, the teeth aren't affected by skin color. And then the more green it is, the more it's going to be shiny. So you can see it's less green up here, so it's going to be less shiny. And like for example, the eyelids are going to be less shiny, which we want. So in any case, we've got our extra little layer here. Make sure that everything except for the scar is transparent, because we are going to use this layer as a copy-paste tool for other things. So once we've got that situated, what I'm just going to do is I am going to export our diffuse texture. We're going to say this is just the scar. And we just want, one important thing, get in the habit of having the compression type be 8 by 8 by 8 RGBA. That is because our friend here at TexTools really likes 8 by 8 by 8 by 8 ARGB or RGBA, whichever order it is, doesn't matter, same stuff. It really likes those types of textures because if you don't use them, then it will sometimes crash your game, which we don't really like. So it's fine for Penumbra, you can use any type of texture, but if you're using TexTools, you absolutely want to use RGBA 8 for your export. Another option is we could save this as a DDS file, but the compression is a little bit wonkier. Set the compression type to BC3/DXT5 and say do not generate, usually you want to say generate bitmaps, but since this is a face texture in particular, we say no bitmaps. And that is it. Then you can just export it as a DDS. But I particularly like PNG just because you don't have to deal with generating bitmaps every time. So we're just going to export that, give it a second. And then we're going to go to our friend, the magical smart normal generator. So what we're going to do is we're going to load an image. And don't look at all of my garbage. Where the hell did I put it? Project, okay. Projects, character, Eleanor, scar. There we go. So now we get our little scar, which should show up right here. You'll see this is the sort of three-dimensional texture that we're looking for. And you can mess with things like make it super normally or less normally. I like to have mine a little bit up. Let's say 75 maybe? No, that's not quite good enough. 90, that'll do. So invert red, you want that off. Invert green, you also want that off. Blur, I mean, you can smooth it out a bit if you like, if you find it's a little crunchy for you. I'm going to turn on the blur and just have a teeny tiny little bit. Let's do 2. You can read about it here. And then once we're done, we're just going to hit save. And you'll get this page that you can right click and save image as. And go stick it somewhere you will remember it. Okay, we're going to call this scar normal. And we'll see, it's downloaded there. So what we're going to do is go back to our friend Gimp and go to the normal map. So from here, I'm going to open as layers, and we're just going to open that. No, you're not going to let me open file location. Okay, screw you too. Projects, character, Eleanor, and we are looking for the scar normal. Okay, here we go. So now you'll notice that it's just the scar. Everything else is just that blank 50% red, 50% green, 100% blue, default normal value. So how do we get this to go over the top of our face? So there's a couple ways we could do it. Either just select everything. I've selected the wrong layer. Select everything except for that little normal area and delete it. And you can just stick it on top. That's literally it. However, you may end up with a seam if you are not careful. Just to keep that in mind. Actually, I'm just going to sort of smudge that out that way a little bit so we can get a little more uniform this way to minimize the chances of a seam. Because seams are ugly. You don't want them on your face. They're great for clothing, not for faces. So that's one way you can do it. Just delete everything and have a mostly transparent layer. Another way you can do it is go edit layer attributes or equivalent and set the layer type to overlay, which will go over the top of it. And here, I'll show you. So if we turn this into an overlay layer, what it will do is just really, oh, yeah, okay. the overlay layer is, or overlay type is different for every struggling here, every image editor. There we go. But one thing you can do that's really cool with Gimp is decompose an image into its RGBA channels. So you're pulling apart the red, the green, and the blue and turning them all into black and white maps. So for example, here's the red, here's the green, here's the blue, and here's the alpha channel, because we wanted alpha. Just preserve the transparency, so always use alpha. But, so we're just going to go to the scar normal and do the same thing. So open with Gimp. And then colors, components, decompose, RGBA. And then we should get a more accurate decomposition here. Or more accurate overlay, rather. So if we paste that to new layer, edit layer attributes, overlay. Why is it still brighter? That's really odd. What hex code is this, just out of curiosity? So it looks like it is 51. Interesting. Okay, what if we just did that? Yeah, so that's the hex code it should be, 8080FF, which represents 0.5% red, 0.5% blue, and then full value blue. Sorry, red, green, blue. That's the order it goes in. So what we're actually going to do is the first method that I showed you, which is really honestly the easiest method, which is just copy your thing onto a new layer and delete everything but the scar. That's it. That's your entire thing. So now we can export our scar. I've just done a bad thing and exported it, overwriting the original export, which is not what we want. So, file, export as face scar n, because we love clear naming conventions. Okay, so from here, we're just going to go back and rename this something LE-Scar Diffuse, or D for the diffuse. And then we're just going to copy this right here and decompose our multi-map. I'll close the other ones just to make it less confusing. Anyway, we're going to decompose our multi-map into RGBA. So, like I said, red is player skin color selection influence, so how much your skin color affects the texture. Green is specular intensity, or how shiny it is, and then blue is lip color. So here, red, you can see affects pretty much everything. Green, this is how shiny something is, and then blue is lip color, which we've actually nuked. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the red channel and paste our scar. And then I'm going to, I want it to, like, because it's darker on the outside, but I want it to be less skin color-y, if that makes sense, on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert the colors. There we go. That's what we want. And I'm just going to paste that right there. Then I'm going to colors, components, compose, and stick it back together again with RGBA. It should automatically populate the channels for you. You don't usually need to mess with that. And look, now we've got this sort of greenish pea green area, which should be about the same color as the teeth. Well, actually not quite. I feel like that should be lighter. Let's just exposure that a smidge. Let's set it to maybe like 1.2. Does that look about right? 1.25? Yeah, okay. Then compose it again. Close the original one, and you can see how it gets more or less red in that area, depending on how we how we mess with the red channel. Alrighty, so now we have our multi-map. So we're just going to export that too. We can find where the hell I put my, okay. LE face scar M for multi. Okay, LA scar D, LA scar M, and okay, now we're just going to go to TexTools. You can also use Penumbra for this part, but I honestly find TexTools easier if I'm mod packing things, just because then you can package it as a TTMP2 and everybody can use it, but just go ahead and import the corresponding textures to their correct places. If you did it right, you should see this 8.8.8 ARGB Mitmaps yes 12. That should stay the same up here at the top, because that is the magical number label thing. That means it will not crash, which is fantastic. That is what we want. Okay, so now just to check our work, we can go over here to the Models tab. Give it a second to load. Did I put a model on here? I'm just going to casually disable that. Oh dear. TexTools, my beloved. TexTools, my beloved. Please don't crash, dude. You're on camera. This is embarrassing. Thank you! See? No more spinning Blue Wheel of Doom. But no model yet either. There's only so long I can make small talk about this thing crashing before I get impatient and just nuke it. So, we're just gonna restart TexTools, because it's a fun friend like that. Ah, shit. Okay, there we go. Take a sip of your preferred beverage while you are waiting for our enemy, our friend, TexTools. That's hair that I've just clicked on. Okay, we're going for Face 3, Face A, and we're going to Models. Then we're giving it a second. Ah, I forgot this was the model I messed with. Okay, just disable that. But we should see a nice scar, which if normal maps would load in TexTools, you would see is somewhat three-dimensional. So if we go to Options, Customize, and set our skin color to be, like, I don't know, something less pale, we can just update the texture and view it and see that the scar doesn't change as much with other like skin tones. So if we, for example, set it to something stupid like super saturated dark blue, we can update the texture again and see that it stays somewhat the same. So if I actually kind of want to do a little bit lighter of a scar, like lighter than the player model. Let's do 50. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, then export it again and import it again. Yes, my drives are a mess, so sue me. Then we update the texture. And you'll see that it's lightened up a little bit. So that gives you some idea of how it's going to behave in game. Let's actually export this so we can see. I forgot that I had that texture on number 3. Anyways, if we export this, disturbing eyes aside, because, fun fact, I actually replaced her eyes with piercing textures. Long story, this is not relevant right now. But, we can open Blender to get a quick preview. Just gonna copy that file path right there. File, import FBX, paste that file path, and take a look. And then I'm going to set it to alpha hash so we can see shit properly. And you can see, okay, never mind. I thought Blender would render normal maps better. I'll show you how it looks in game. But basically, that's the process. You can fiddle with it from here to your heart's content. For resources, I will paste this the TexTools reference information in the video description, as well as the Smart Normal Map generator. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye!